let's have a look at what's been getting us talking this week.
And to help Nina and I with that task, we're joined by comedian and writer Geoff Norcott.
And joining Geoff is maths teacher and presenter Bobby Seagull. Welcome, both of you.
Good to see you. Bobby, one of the big stories, Bobby, this week has been the racist abuse levelled at the England footballers after that penalty shootout in the final last week. And you've chosen a story that reflects the reaction, haven't you?
Absolutely. So, in response to the racial abuse that was targeted towards our footballers, Rashford, Saka and Sancho, there was an online petition set up by 3 Muslim women who love football, and they're known affectionately as the 3 hijabis. And the petition effectively calls for the FA to put in place a lifetime ban on online and offline racists attending football matches in England. Yeah.
Geoff, I mean, it was awful what happened to those players. 3 young men who sort of carried the weight of the shoulders, the expectation on their shoulders of the nation, and they were abused like that. And there were so many people abusing them. But I sort of saw a silver lining that we actually know a bit more about what the problem is. And then you see things like this, 1 million people signing a petition. Is this a great example of people power?
I think it is a good example of people power. I'm glad that the petition exists. I think the number of people that signed it has sent out a message of what most decent people think. And I think certainly if you'd have asked me, in particularly like the 48 hours after the game, and we saw that horrific racist abuse, what I thought, I would have definitely gone wholeheartedly in with this. But, when it comes to any form of justice, certainly in this case, there's 2 liberal sides of me. There's one that despises racism, and then there's the other that's slightly suspicious of sort of absolutist, hardline forms of justice. But if you wanted to do something radical, I've got a suspicion that these cowards would never show their face in the ground, and if they did, they wouldn't say these things. So I wonder if you wanted to do something really impactful and radical, is to look at the online dimension to this. Because if you ban them from football, these guys know how to set up accounts again, and they can still get to people and they can still impact on people. So I wonder if that would be... It might not be as strong a message, but it might be more effective in combating things.
But, Geoff, don't you think that a lifetime ban on anybody who writes anything that is deemed racist is a good thing to do?
Well, I think, like I say, I honestly appeals to heart and head on this one. But I think that if you're going to talk lifetime bans, my issue with the online dimension is that people can just set up other accounts. They can do this again. They can make this happen again effectively, whether it's racism or threats of violence towards female MPs. So I think, like I say, if we're going to take radical action, that is perhaps a more effective place to take it.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I get your point of view, but for me, I think a hardline approach sends out a really strong message. To lighten the mood a bit, Geoff, you've chosen a bit of posh-nosh this week.
Yes, so we know that nature is healing when there's something that normally doesn't cost that much, but now costs a lot, right? So there's this restaurant in New York called Serendipity 3 or Maroon 5 or something massively pretentious, right? And they've got French fries, or should we just call them chips? Okay, they've got chips, and these are going to cost 140 quid. Now, Nina, I haven't checked what's in this, but I'm going to presume gold plating, flakes, truffles, salt from somewhere weird, right? And I just worry. There's a lot of reasons that I worry about this. Is one, there's no way this could be 60 times better than just chips, right? And the other reason I worry is I have seen my northern friends' faces when they get to Leicester Square and they get charged £5 for chips. So I have no idea what kind of coronary episode would occur here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the list. I mean, they're words that I've never read before. A Baccarat Crystal Arabesque plate. Oh, that's what it's served on. Mornay sauce made with udder cream. I mean, isn't all cream sort of udder cream? Black truffle butter. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. It's sprinkled with edible gold. I mean, Bobby, it's chips. This is ridiculous, isn't it?
Oh, amazing. Again, in East London, we love our fish and chips on a Friday. And in fact, like many people that are single, we've been trying to get back into the dating market. And imagine if you put on your dating profile, willing to take someone out for £140 or $200 chips, what sort of signal would it send? Because I use something called optimal stopping theory in maths for dating. It's clearly not working, but maybe this is it. These gold-plated chips. That's the way. Bobby Seagull, step forward this way.
And you like your chips, don't you? Because I've known. This is a terrible joke. I've known quite a few seagulls to like chips.
Oh,
so
yeah, he's waiting all morning to do that.
I've been queuing that one up. It didn't go down well.
I just say,
the boss gave me that joke. It's his fault. It's nothing to do with me.
Look, a groan's as good as a laugh, Sean. I've always said that. And I would say that 140 quid, the side order has basically got to be an iPhone. That instead of curry sauce, the chips have to come with an iPhone or a piece of jewellery.
Well, it has to be a special occasion. You have to have one if you're going to...
Very special.
Wedding proposal. I've got to say, normally they bring us chips here. Well, they bring us the thing that we're talking about.
Yeah, no chance.
No chips. And basically, it was either that or not be on air for the next 6 months because it ruined the budget. But, I've got a story that I quite like, not as expensive as that. All being well, His Holiness Pope Francis is hoping to attend the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Glasgow this November. The Pontiff has made environmental appeal a signature of his papacy, calling climate change one of the most serious and worrying phenomena of our time at the United Nations Climate Action Summit in 2019. Geoff, I mean, I'm a fan of faiths and religions getting involved in, in everyday, really important stuff that affects us, because if not, then what's the point in them? I sort of feel that. Is this a good thing?
Hey, I'm trying to see this outside. Look, I'm a person that attends church sometimes, but I'm wondering if you're outside of the Catholic faith, what the democratic mandate is for somebody like the Pope to be there. If you look at the actual democratic process that selects the Pope, it's very far from what we would see as a legitimate democratic process. But he is a constructive presence, and I think actually the big focus when this meeting comes about will be the usual thing about how people got there. Whenever there's anything on the environment, people, unless you got there on a canoe or a solar-powered moped, or you did it by interrailing, there's going to be a focus on that. But sometimes I think, it's like that principle of you've got to spend money to make money. Sometimes you've got to burn a bit of carbon to save a bit of carbon. That might annoy some people, but I think it's legitimate.
Well, fair enough. But Bobby, you are a Pope Francis fan.
Yes, I think so. He's a different pope to many of his predecessors, and he's someone that is really trying to modernise the church through his actions. He sort of represents and stands up for the oppressed and the poor. But also, if you think about it pragmatically, there are 1.2 billion Roman Catholics. So obviously, you want it to be a democratic process. But if he's got such clout, it's Latin America, Africa, it's a growing market. We, as a sort of society, need to make sure we engage with them. But on a sort of personal note, my mum, so she's a very sort of staunch Catholic, and we took her to Rome a few years ago, but she made us visit every single church in there. So for her, Pope Francis is good, but her number one is John Paul II, and he's like the Alex Ferguson of popes, like the top boss. Like Francis is pretty decent, like Arsene Wenger, I would say.
So there's like a real hierarchy, like a top of the popes.
Oh my gosh! We're coming
I
with
have to
him.
get him back.